Namaste, my friends. Here we are, October 1st, 2021. It is my Manniversary, year 7. Again, this video feels more overwhelming every passing year because so much happens, and through my health journey and through my transition and through traumas, I am fuzzy on a lot of details, and I'm constantly having to go through a lot of different methods. I literally just spent the last 40 minutes sitting here contemplating when my journey really started and going through all of my social media. You know, I used to say that I hated memories on Facebook. I have to say it's very useful in these sorts of scenarios so I can kind of piece together, you know, between that and YouTube, what really happened. And so I'm going to do a little bit of an overview of where my journey began to the confusion over 6 years transitioning, 5 years transitioning, going through basically the major points of medical transition and things that have happened, and then I will attempt to kind of summarize this here. It's probably going to be all over the place, so grab a seat. My journey through discovering my gender identity, I know now, began probably earlier, but the earliest memory that I have is age 5. And I am the oldest sibling. My siblings are about almost 5 years younger than me, and so we had diapers around at that time, and I remember distinctly in the middle of the night going to line the toilet seat with diapers and attempt to pee standing up. This memory came to me after a lot of therapy and whatever. Like, I was already pretty deep into my transition when I started to really get that memory. And I feel like this is not uncommon for trans people to, or frankly anybody who's experienced traumas, to be able to remember these sorts of things. And especially if you've had sexual trauma and abuse, which I have. So from that, it took until I was basically 21, and I was in college, and Auntie Kate Bornstein came through. We brought her in to do, the club I was part of, we brought her in to do a talk on gender and sexuality, and it literally wasn't until that moment where, click, boom, whoa, there is a difference between gender and sexuality, and I really need to look at this. And it brought up a lot of feelings that I feel like I've been sort of having without understanding what these feelings were for much of my life, on and off. But this was strong and intense, and honestly, I don't remember if this was before or after. It's probably before I decided to do drag for the one and only time that I've done drag as a drag king by the name James Kink. I was in a competition, and I was literally taking condoms and filling them with lube and turning them into a packer and using that, and it felt what I understand now to be gender euphoric. At the time, I didn't really understand. This became like a part of me, and I was definitely freaked out. And I remember speaking to one friend in the club who I felt I could trust very briefly about how I was feeling. I don't honestly remember what I said. Definitely blocked it out. It was definitely not a long conversation. I'm sure it was something along the lines of I'm, confused about my gender, and this brought up. So, sorry, I didn't, just so you know, I didn't edit anything out here. My phone stopped because I got a phone call. So, ultimately, I just shoved it way back down. Especially once the person that I was dating at the time freaked out because I was like not feeling like I needed to remove it, and I just sort of like literally forgot that it was there. So that was a solid sign. Again, shoved it way, way, way back down. At this point, I had one true friend in my life who happened to also be a trans man. Up until that point, I really didn't have too much experience to my knowledge, where it was outward and I was able to have conversation, even though I was at a liberal school, so I was around a couple of other people that I knew also to be trans. And fast forward, again, to me being bedridden, October 1st, 2014, not diagnosed with things. It was, thanks to Facebook, I now know this, it was the day that I got approved for Social Security disability, being identified as legally disabled. And that was something that I prayed for. At the time. I was not that sort of person. I didn't really have that spiritual journey remotely yet. And suddenly, I think at that point it became clear to me sort of the state of where I was at. It was a big release of a pressure, and one thing that I definitely knew upon really receiving this opening up of just to myself in my mind, like, okay, now is an opportunity for me to find out who I am and learn my truth. And I was blatantly thinking about my gender identity and still very much living as female with huge boobs and living as a woman, so I'm technically still female. That's sex. We're not going to get into this lecture right now. And so I think it became clear to me that I knew I was going to want to do a medical transition, and that in order for me to go forward, I was going to really have an understanding of what my life was like. It was kind of like being handed that notice was me, I think, in a new level at that time, really processing, this is my life now. And I am disabled and I am bedridden, and what am I going to do about that? I'm a really young, mid-20s trans person who's not out of the closet, who's not even really, But this was the first time that I really got very real with myself, and I was like, this is a possibility, and admitted myself, that I was afraid, and it started to be something that I was, obsessively thinking about and telling no one. Not a therapist, nothing, nada, just in my head. And I was already very isolated, and it wasn't until I was able to get out of the apartment that I realized, because I was living with my parents, due to my health stuff, I was relatively, newly-ish single, and so ultimately, I just knew that I wasn't going to do that under their roof. I couldn't imagine really figuring things out, and I was like, maybe I'm just really confused because I'm around, them. But I was pretty sure, and I think I knew how sure I was because of how afraid I was, how afraid I felt, and I knew that I needed to move out in order to really just discover this. And so, then cycling back through to, I think about a year actually, I think it was actually also October 1st, so this would have been 2015, I was living in Queens on a beach apartment by myself, still, essentially bedridden, but I had my own space to be, and that was when I really said, fuck, I can't stand it anymore. I basically, I had a figurative explosion, and I was just like, I couldn't take it anymore, you know, and I was like, this is really who I am. I'm saying this right now. I'm trans. So why I get really a complex between 6 years and 7 years, and why I always get confused every year, is because 7 years is when I really had this first serious discussion with myself, and like literally prayed to God that if I, you know, if anyone's out there, you know, like if I can ever get out of this bed, I'm gonna live my truth. And so to me, and I really do believe that that is why my Manniversary is 7 years. But in terms of when I took action, that day, October 1st, 2015, I told a friend who was trans from college. I was like, what do I do about this? I'm feeling horrible. We had a chat and basically discussed, you know, the chest dysphoria was real, and the first thing that I could take action on right then and there, because that's what really was going to make me feel good at that time, was to bind my chest. And I lived literally across the street and around the block from a Duane Reade, and I went into Duane Reade, and I, you know, it's not the healthiest way to bind by any stretch. Binding in general is really not, you know, unfortunately a healthy thing, but better than dying by suicide, right? Which is what I was feeling at the time. So I, within all my pain, took myself to the Duane Reade and went to the aisle with the bandages and bought myself a bandage. And that was the first day that I started binding. And so I'm really happy actually that I went into this now and that I really pushed through and like loved through this fear and acknowledged this and like really told my truth, because talking about it now, I actually feel a lot better about it. I really do feel confident, and I'm sure if I look through past videos, I had a similar conversation with myself at a certain point. But I do believe that it's 7 years, and so like this is the 7th year anniversary, and for some reason that feels really monumental. 6 felt monumental, but 7, I don't know, feels different somehow. And you know, it's been a really big year. But so from that point, why I get confused is because Facebook, the way that I figured this out was from that, there's a memory not about my, you know, this is the year I'm trans, because I didn't come out publicly in that way. I just told someone, I told one person. So the only thing I could measure it by was that memory it jogged that memory of me. That was that time when I got that documentation that I was on disability. And sorry, I'm just checking time. So you know, the other thing was that after that, you know, the Manniversary post kind of begin later from that, and then when I go back to YouTube, to my first ever YouTube video, I have one video before I started testosterone. Now, I started testosterone on March 3rd of what I guess would have been 2016. Yeah, I think. So it's actually been 5 years since I've been on testosterone. And that I can pinpoint because you need to be able, from at least the way it was legally in New York State with the insurance that I was on, you were required to do 6 months of therapy, openly talking about it, and actually like actively living within gender expression of the gender that you wanted to transition to before they would cover. And then you need therapist letters, doctor's letters, and testing done in order to qualify and get covered for testosterone. Excuse me. So I know that that was 6 months, and that would be, you know, October 3rd, but October, you know, 1st likely, because I would have needed a couple days for therapy. So yeah, basically looking at that and the first video before that, I definitely was not on testosterone. And so, you know, and so that was 5 years ago. And so it did take time for me to get the courage and determine that I was going to go and do this on YouTube. But I've been watching people on YouTube for a really long time. So at that point, you know, for a while. So, yeah, 7 years. So that is the confusion and the journey and the truth. But now I feel a lot more confident and I feel really comfortable in my story because, you know, if you're watching this and you know me, you know that my ethos is so much about authenticity and living my truth. And, like, that's what I want to do, and I don't want to be lying to any of you. And I also know that, you know, with my memories, my health stuff and trauma and things like that, it is understandable for me to get a date wrong, but I feel like it's important for my story because if I say 6 years, it feels like I'm erasing the year of my journey, and I don't want to do that. And you know what? My journey has been my whole life, especially since that 5-year-old little kid. So, yeah, that's how I look at that. This year, you know, has been monumental. But I promised I would go over surgeries anyway, right? So I said testosterone was first. Then I had my first top surgery, which was the following November 26th, I believe, was my first top surgery with Dr. Alexis Hazen, NYU Langone, New York. She's incredible. And I knew already at that point that I was probably going to need some element of surgery, most likely in person, though I thought, in office, not going back under, but I ended up going back under again for a second top surgery revision because I'm really picky about my chest, and I've even been looking at my scars, but I don't know why I'm doing that because I'm planning on actually getting a chest tattoo most likely. So, and then I had a third, which was in office, and at that point I had moved to California, and so I literally had gone home in part to do that fix. Then I had a laparoscopic hysterectomy. I removed everything but one ovary. So my uterus is gone, my fallopian tubes are gone, one of my ovaries is gone, and I did that the April before the pandemic, so that would have been, I don't know, probably 2.5 years ago or something like that now. And I did that here at Cedars with Dr. Rymel, also incredible. And I kept an ovary because I know some people are going to wonder why, as you're watching this, why I keep an ovary. I kept an ovary because one of the biggest things before I got on testosterone was I couldn't allow myself to do it, nor would my therapist allow me to do it until I had really been certain what I wanted to do about giving birth. Because my entire life I imagined also adopting, because that's always been very important to me because of people in my family who've been adopted and just my beliefs in general about it. But I always wanted to at least have one biologically, even if I ended up with another woman at the time with these women. And so that was a really, 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 really big decision. I'm pretty sure I have videos about that you can look back in time and see them. I decided basically that because of where technology could go, that I would still want the opportunity, because my eggs and my ovary were happy and healthy, so if I ended up wanting to use it, that was something that I could do. And I didn't have the money to do, or the time, or the health to do a freezing of my eggs, even though I kind of wanted to. And the other issue is emotion. At that point, I didn't think I could make it, honestly. I thought that I would just end up dying by suicide because of the surge of hormones, the amount of hormones they put into you. It was exactly the opposite of, literally direct opposite of what I wanted to do, meaning that I wanted to go into testosterone. And so I also kept it for my health. So I have, autoimmune diseases and things like that. And so I needed to make sure that I covered the bases for myself, and that I left an open door if I could really find myself, that I could live with it. And to this day, it's something I really, for a while, I obviously thought about when I was healing, but it's literally I forget sometimes that I had a hysterectomy because my laparoscopic scars are so tiny, and I literally just noticed them the first time in like a really long time the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, that happened. Obviously, it was a really big thing, and I have plenty of videos on that whole process from start to finish that you can watch. Going back on, depending on where you're watching this, so you know, on Cool Trans Guys YouTube. And so yeah, anyway, in any case, it's the best thing to do for medical reasons, and because like we all have estrogen and testosterone, and it's a way to have a natural balance, you know, and it doesn't mess with anything else, and it can help with bone health, and so there's a lot of stuff that we just like don't know. So that's why I kept one. And so future plans, right now I have a totally new perspective on my bottom surgery plans, and I realize now that I definitely haven't done an update video on that. I'm almost positive, because it's a pretty new realization, and I've just been very overwhelmed with other things. But I was able to connect with someone who did it this way, and this is something that I was thinking would be best for me, and so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to do this, and it meant also that I was like changing my team. So now I'm planning on doing a team in San Francisco, and I'm planning on doing meditoidoplasty followed by phalloplasty. Do you want to get tattooing? And I'm going to still plan on doing RF, or Euphoria, and doing the pump and implants. And this surgeon does it where they do meditoid set up for phallo. Basically, the results in terms of healing and otherwise are incredible, and so that's what I want to do. And I'm still dealing with the issue of my health right now, and insurances, and a lot of the unknown things that have me halted from my process of starting with laser and all that. So hopefully going to be able to get to that in the year. That is major. So this year has been up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You know, we're year 2 of the pandemic. You know, the pandemic was a huge part of why I couldn't move forward in my transition medically. But it doesn't mean I stopped, you know, emotionally and physically overall. My testosterone dose changed. I'm now 0.4 ml still in the legs, but it's getting harder and harder to do the legs because it's been a long time. Might have to switch to sub-Q. I've been thinking about that, and that was something I never thought about, you know, doing. That was not something that I honestly want to do. I actually just got my hormone levels checked and waiting for the results, so we'll see if that's going to change again. How I'm doing. And my shot day is now Thursday, which I think that changed. It was initially Tuesday, Thursday, now it's Thursday. I am hairier, for sure. On my chest, on my shoulders, on my legs, on my face. You know, this is like me trimming it, you know. Stashes, more coming in, and my sideburns are getting longer, and I'm getting kind of sprinkles of hair here. It's wanting to connect. This is kind of coming down, and I got this little patch. It's hard to see from this angle and this lighting, but there is absolutely chest hair here. My hair on my head changed again, changed color, changed texture. I've probably receded even a little bit more, but hopefully not. Cut my hair. Now I've been wearing it really short. This is actually long. I'm trying to decide whether I'm gonna unless I can. I feel like my fingernails and my toenails have actually been growing faster, and my hair growing faster. And when I buzz, like, or do any amount of shaving, it comes back much faster. Now it's just like a couple of days to really get to this, so that's pretty cool. Emotionally, it's been really tough. I went through a major period of gender euphoria because I managed to basically like get sort of like a six-pack coming in, and that was something I've wanted my whole life. It's just I feel the most sexy and confident and strong, especially because I feel like with all my health stuff and not feeling strong a lot of the time, it really helps to feel that physical strength, because the emotional strength and physical strength tie together. I lost that because my health started to deteriorate. My health has been really rough, and I've noticed that my dysphoria has kind of gone up, down, up, down. I went from packing 24/7 to not packing at all, to like packing a little bit, to not packing at all, and then packing at all. I've just started to attempt an SCP journey again, and I'm having a really difficult time because standing to pee, even just in my apartment, just the physicality, being able to relax those muscles enough so that I can pee standing up is extraordinarily difficult for me outside of like shower, super hot water, body response. I have been integrating more of my divine masculine and my divine feminine, and really like figuring out what that means for me and how it relates to the world, and where I'm resisting, where I'm surrendering. I've gone through periods of my time where I've really been in moments of unconditional love, and I find myself there so much more, and other times we're saying really unkind things, but the difference is now, like when I say unkind things, I either stop myself or I say it and own it and then say the opposite and something loving myself. And so I've made a lot of progress in a lot of different ways, in body, mind, soul. I just haven't made progress in my medical transition in the way that I hoped. I already thought by now that I would have been close to my date of stage 1, if not already having stage 1 last. And I know it's all divine. I know it's all happening for all the reasons that it's happening. And, the biggest thing that happened family-wise this year is that I've had a really strong reconnection with my grandmother, who is now huge. We don't talk about it, but she genders me properly and, really thinks through what she says, even the fact she's turning 98, and is, she loves me. We're now close, and that was the biggest bond that was really, broken during my transition. So that was incredibly healing. I know that I'm in a period right now where I'm really just acknowledging and respecting the fact that my relationships have in fact changed with, I think, everybody that I know. It just feels different, and I think that's okay. In fact, I know it's okay. But I think it's, I know it's also okay that it took this long for me to get to these realizations and getting to this point of accepting. Transitioning is so multi-layered, especially if you're going the medical route, and so there's just a lot of layers of transformation. I think putting it in short, it was a transformative year. It was very difficult in terms of my transition and my health, but it was there, and there have been a lot of amazing things and a lot of progress on a soul level, on an energetic level, and that ties in to my transition. I'm more and more comfortable with being trans and loving being trans and uncovering different memories, and I have not, the other big piece, I guess, is that I have not, pandemic especially, I've not been being sexually active, and I'm feeling very confused about what it is that I really want, what is it I'm looking for, and wanting to date, not wanting to date, wanting to hook up, and not wanting to hook up. It's been all over the place, feeling safe to do so, not feeling safe to do so in the pandemic, and figuring out how many excuses I'm making versus like what is really realistic. So I really want to change that. this coming year, I really want to get active and moving forward with my bottom surgery. I really want to start dating and exploring my sexuality again, and face that fear of starting over, because that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm starting over and figuring out who I am as a sexual being. I am someone who has a deep connection with sexuality. So yeah, there's a lot, but it's been really beautiful. It's another chapter, and 7 years in, that's a powerful number. 7 days of the week, there's a reason. I feel like it's a big cycle. Every 7 years, the cells in our body and our taste buds and all that change, and it's, I think, it's just like a really big change, and a really big amount of ascension. And I'm really looking forward to what year 8 is going to have in store for me. So thank you so much if you have watched this video. If you are an ally, thank you for watching this. Hope that this informed you. If you are a trans person, I hope this informed you and supported you. Reach out to me. I'm here. I love all of you. Thank you so much for celebrating with me. Here goes to a happy, healthy, infinitely abundant, unconditionally loving year for me,